Evening low of 24 degrees. And tomorrow for your Tuesday, partly cloudy skies with a high of 36. I'm Adam Zelig for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hey, you're up next.
My throat hurts so bad. There's no way I can sing tonight.
Here, try these.
Vicks VapoCool Drops.
Yeah, Vicks VapoCool Drops has maximum strength menthol with a rush of Vicks Vapors.
Ooh, I can already feel it.
I told you. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Please welcome to the stage.
Vaporize sore throat pain fast with Vicks VapoCool Drops.
If you're like most people, you've had your fair share of financial questions. Questions like, can I afford my son's travel hockey team? What if my daughter doesn't get that soccer scholarship? Will I be able to enjoy golf in retirement? At Empower, we know these questions can be stressful. We're here to help answer your what ifs and empower what's next. Join 18 million Americans and take control of your financial future. Start today at empower.com. Sponsored by Empower Personal Wealth.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
This holiday season, visit
Wright State Basketball has a new radio home on 1410 ESPN Radio and 101.5 Hank FM. Don't miss the Raiders all season long with Chris Collins and Jim Brown on the call. For tickets to upcoming home games, visit WSURaiders.com.
assisting with boot fitting.
Don't miss Dayton's top-rated local sports talk show, Kinner and Kev. Hang out with the guys weekdays at 3 p.m. as they talk Buckeyes, Bengals, Browns, Reds, and yes, your Wright State Raiders. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Homeowner or business and need someone you can trust? Don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Mics are hot. Mics are hot.
Are they?
Well, they are right now. Everybody, welcome in.
No, they're not.
Alexa, be quiet.
They're not.
You weren't joking. What the hell's happening?
You're in vacation mode already.
Yeah, we gotta get your camera. This is a sloppy start to the show.
Nah, man.
I'm
here, but I'm there.
So
I got to enter studio.
Paul Feinbaum tweeted out, "What are you opting out of this week?" And I think Kevin and I are opting out of work.
Correct.
PTO
man, that's me.
Everybody, welcome in. It's the Kidder and Kev Show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, live on the Justin Kidder Show Facebook page, live on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel, and live on 1410 ESPN Radio. Mr. Kev Nash, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. What up, though?
Oh, yeah. And Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
My bad. See, that was probably one of our worst opens ever.
It's going down in history.
The bosses might suspend us for the rest of the year.
Oh, darn.
They might say you could do one more show tomorrow, but then you're suspended for the rest of the year.
So be it.
So be it is right. All right, welcome in, Kinner and Kev, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. I hope everybody had a great weekend. What did you do this weekend?
Lots of Christmas shopping. Went up to Easton and Columbus, did some shopping. Went out to a nice restaurant up there as well. Hung out in Columbus for quite some time and, chilled and watched my beloved Pittsburgh Steelers get blown out on Saturday. Watch somehow, some way the Cincinnati Bengals come back and win on Saturday, and somehow, some way watch the Browns win. And then I watched the Ravens win. So basically everybody in the AFC North won except for my Pittsburgh Steelers. So 7-7 life.
So when Kenner said the Steelers would be in last place,
I mean, one of these years you got to be right.
Well, who would have saw the dysfunction across the board? I mean, even the best division in football is still dysfunctional as can be. The Ravens are just quietly doing their thing up at the top, but it's a very noisy AFC North, that's for sure. And that's what we'll open up with here on today's show. Yeah, had the in-laws come and visit over the weekend. Got a lot of stuff done around the house. We went to I've lived here for 10 years. I've never had dinner at Mama DeSalvo's before until over the weekend.
What?
Yeah. We've eaten at the deli before, but I've never actually had dinner at Mama DeSalvo's, and we checked that off the list. I'm not a wine guy, but the
I
wife,
tried to get into
I looked
wine.
at the wife wanted a glass of wine. I'm like, listen, I go, you're going to have a couple glasses, right? She said, yes. I go, you might as well just get the damn bottle because, and I'm cheap. So, I'm real romantic when we're out on these things. But then we just got a whole bottle, and then I had some. And then I'm like, I don't really like this, but I like the wine buzz is a lot different than anything else kind of buzz. So
no headaches with wine.
That's not, well, I was fine, but nonetheless. But anyways, I hope everyone had a great weekend. We're off and rolling here today. Troy on Facebook right off the bat, Kev says, I can't believe I'm seeing a Steelers team quit. Are you seeing a Steelers team quit?
I'm not seeing a Steelers team quit. I just see a not good football team.
Even when you see it, not trying to argue, even when you see multiple players who they keep showing these clips of, if I'm not involved in this play, I'm not going to run down and block. I'm not going to run down. It's continuously the star players on top of that.
I'm seeing a frustrated team, a team that can't get itself going. When you see this all the time, when you see a guy that's an impact player and the ball doesn't come their way, and then they go the other side of the football field and it still doesn't work out, that player said, well, you should have threw it to me because I could have made that play for us. I could have helped us win. As far as the blocking, yeah, of course you would love to see your wide receivers block. But these ain't the Hines Ward wide receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers where they out there crack back blocking on folks and everything like that. I'm seeing a team that is just overly frustrated at everything that's going on. I don't think they're quitting. I'm just seeing a whole bunch of dudes that just ain't good at football right now.
Steelers 7-7, last in the AFC North, still division with everyone at 500 or better, and 3 of the 4 in the playoff picture right now. A wild weekend. Look, there's a lot of Saturday games. The Bengals played on Saturday, and very similar to the Browns, the Bengals and Browns got off to a very ugly start and had to, dig themselves out of a hole, but 2 exciting finishes to both of those matchups. We'll start with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 8-6. I said a while ago that when the Bengals' first game post Joe Burrow was that Steelers game, and they looked god-awful. And I highlighted the fact that that's what happens when you have a team that's built around the quarterback and the quarterback only. You had a bad defense, bad run game, and I don't think that the defense has improved. The run game slightly improved, but not much. I don't think much has changed other than the fact that you're getting healthier quarterback play, and you're able to play to your identity. Good for the Cincinnati Bengals for being able to target a backup quarterback that even Bengals fans weren't confident in coming into the season. Let's just be clear. But good for the Cincinnati Bengals for locating a backup quarterback that could still play at the same level of Joe Burrow. And I'm not saying he's as good as Joe Burrow. I'm watching what's happening with Joe Flacco in Cleveland. I keep waiting for, the magic to run out. And I think Bengals fans are kind of doing the same thing. But what you're witnessing in Cincinnati, you look at Jake Browning and what he's doing. He is statistically as good as Joe Burrow and is statistically doing exactly what Joe Burrow does when he's healthy. But I will say this, that the Cincinnati Bengals in 2023 are better with Jake Browning than Joe Burrow. That's not a shot or me trying to spin it or whatever. Statistically, they average more passing yards per game. They average more points per game. They're obviously winning more consistently now. This team's not better without Joe Burrow, but in 2023, they just so happen to be.
They were god awful on offense until the fourth quarter. Like, I watched that game from the restaurant I was at, and I was like, man, they're really about to lose to the Minnesota Vikings. And then all of a sudden, big plays all over the place. They got the run game going with Joe Mixon. He popped off some runs, and then, T. Higgins just decided to go stretch Armstrong on that one play where he jumps as it looks like he's trying to throw it out of bounds. Brownie's trying to throw it out of bounds. He jumps, catches it, and not only catches it, gets 2 feet in, and then stretches for the goal line for a touchdown, which was an amazing play. And that's what you need from, your star wide receivers. This team is built around the passing game. So if it's going to be built around the passing game, your guys got to make plays for your backup quarterback. No matter how good Jake Browning is playing, he's a backup for a reason. He's not a starter in the NFL yet, at least. So the other guys around him have to help him make those plays. That wasn't a play done by Jake Browning, but he gets the credit for the touchdown pass, right? That was all T. Higgins. So they made the plays necessary to win, and the Minnesota Vikings, to be honest, they coughed it up, and the Cincinnati Bengals are right there to say, hey, you're going to give it to us. We gladly will take it.
Well, no, but if we're going to say that the receivers are making the plays, not the quarterback, then we got to say the same thing for Joe Burrow when he has the best receiving core in football when you look at like 1 through 3, at least collectively as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
They like depth for like after those 3, which no one feels sorry for them by any means. But they don't have a whole lot of options there. But yeah, but Jake Browning still, when you look at the yards per game and everything else, still playing at a level that you usually don't get from backups. What we're seeing out of the AFC North has just been the next man up type of mentality collectively between the Browns and the Bengals, and even just throughout the NFL when it comes to that, as far as that's concerned. The Bengals 27-24 the final, 324 yards from Jake Browning, 2 touchdowns and an interception. The run game is kind of what continues to be, what a lot of people complained about. I mean, like Joe Mixon, 10 carries, 47 yards. Chase Brown, 7 carries, 23 yards. Trevion Williams, 1 carry for 10, a burst there late. But not able, that the Bengals come away with the big win that keeps their playoff hopes alive. And people say, oh, that must be killing you, Kenner. No, because when Joe Burrow got hurt and people checked out on the Bengals for a while, the show got kind of dull for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I was like, well, I'll see you Bengals fans when Joe Burrow gets healthy, because you're Joe Burrow fans, not Bengals fans. But y'all are back, and it's welcome back. It's nice to have you. Happy holidays. I'm rooting for the Bengals the next couple of weeks. I want that Week 17 matchup. I want it to come down to that final week. The Browns are making the playoffs no matter what. It's the Cincinnati Bengals that need a lot of help. Not a lot of, they need help.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the Browns can lose out and miss the playoffs. I'm not, going to say that, but I think the Browns are fine. But I want the Browns to put the Bengals out of their misery in that final week. I want the Browns to be responsible as far as that's concerned. Doug Toby on Facebook. What up, Doug? Merry Christmas, by the way. He says Minnesota's defense only gave up 1 touchdown in the last 3 games. Talk about the defense of Minnesota, which is wild. You think about, the pieces they gave up defensively last year, some of those pieces going over to Cleveland and playing a huge role in their defensive success. How a bad defense with those guys last year, you lose the better defenders, and somehow they've a much improved defensive team this year. Doesn't make any sense. But Brian Flores, that's where he's at, right? Brian Flores has played a huge role in that, which we knew. That was a defensive coach that even Browns fans, a lot of teams that needed defensive coordinators last year were wanting Brian Flores, of course, and he's made a big impact in Minnesota as far as that's concerned. Forrest Frady on Facebook says Bengals fans are so funny right now. They are acting like they never gave up on the Bengals when Burrow got hurt.
I know I did,
so,
and I'm not even a Bengals fan.
So, they are the Cincinnati Burrows for a reason, as far as that's concerned. But Forrest also messaged in, makes you wonder if the Bengals are good because of Burrow or the other players. Look, I like a good troll job. Look, bottom line is, I don't care how good Jake Browning looks the rest of the season. When you get to the offseason, this is Joe Burrow's team. There's nothing. Look, there's a couple weird scenarios. Look, we've seen Philadelphia with Nick Foles. They at the time, who's the original quarterback for them? I'm drawing a blank. Carson Wentz. So when they had Carson Wentz was their guy, right? Like that was their quarterback. And Eagles fans felt great about him. He goes out injured. They felt that their playoff hopes were done, or that their chances at a Super Bowl were done. Nick Foles comes in, not only leads them to a Super Bowl, but wins Super Bowl MVP. There was no Eagles fans doing the whole, well, man, is it Nick Foles' team or Carson? No, it was Carson Wentz's team. This is going to be Joe Burrow's team. And now I'm here to tell you right now, there's no Bengals fans out there actually thinking this. I think there's going to be more Browns fans concerned about what happens if Joe Flacco leads the Browns to the promised land with everything going on with Deshaun Watson. I think you'll see more chaos as far as that's concerned. But it's going to be interesting nonetheless.
No doubt. I mean, you look at the Cincinnati Bengals where they are. I mean, I went on these airwaves and deemed their season over after they lost to the Baltimore Ravens on that Thursday night game. Not only did they lose the game, they lost their starting quarterback. I thought it was over, but mud and on my face, they're coming to play. They're not quitting and they're not giving up. And right now they're in prime position to make a playoff run to get into this tournament. And that's all you really can ask for a team that started out so slowly, is to make the tournament and then see where you fall.
All right, so the playoff picture looks like this in the AFC as of right now. Baltimore with that big win over the Jaguars last night. How about the Jags just continuing to fall off? They've lost 3 straight, all against AFC North teams. The Baltimore Ravens sitting in the number 1 spot. The Dolphins with the big win yesterday as well. So Baltimore, by the way, clinched their playoff spot yesterday. They didn't clinch the North. They didn't clinch the number 1 seed, but they're currently residing in the number 1 seed at 11-3. Dolphins 10-4. The Chiefs get a win over the Patriots. Their offense appeared to be back yesterday, but consider who they played, whatever. 9-5, though, they get the win that they needed. Jacksonville loses again. They're still at the 4th spot, sitting atop their division at 8-6. But they have a streaking Houston Texans team coming up behind that. The Texans were fortunate to get a win yesterday, despite the fact that they're out of the playoff picture, or at least they're out of the playoff seeding right now, but they're in the playoff picture at 8-6. They got a big one with Cleveland. Cleveland's trying to hold off Houston. Cleveland's trying to hold off that whole division. But it will be interesting to see what happens in that matchup. But Houston, if they get CJ Stroud back, it's a playoff game on Saturday or Sunday. It's not like whoever loses is out, but I do know if Houston loses, that's a bigger loss for them than if Cleveland loses. Both teams desperately need a win, though.
Absolutely. You talk about what Houston was able to accomplish yesterday. They beat the Titans, but they beat them with CJ Stroud being out with a concussion. Tank Dell is out for the rest of the season. So that's your starting quarterback, your number one wide receiver, and their number two wide receiver was out as well, and they still were able to come away with a victory. And not only that, in the overtime, they popped off a game-winning touchdown run that was called back by holding, and then the kicker was able to nail like a 54-yarder to win it. So Houston Texans 8-6 in first place in the AFC South. I don't think anybody in their right mind thought that would be happening this late in the season, but it is.
Yeah, and it's starting to shape up. And at the time, it looked like Houston's only shot at the playoffs would be a wild card because they've been one of the league leaders in wins all season. They've just started. I mean, this month of November and into December has been horrible for them. They're just trying to desperately hold on to that division leading spot, but they're currently at the 4th seed. The thing with the Browns, you could say, okay, there's about 84, according to the different playoff modules out there, 84% chance to make the playoffs. I'm pretty confident unless just the injuries continue to pile up, but they've been able to, ride that storm all season. They want that 5 spot. You could say, what if they clinch the playoffs? If you're the Browns, I had this asked before, with all the injury bugs that they've had to deal with, the second you clinch that playoff spot, do you just rest everyone and just your next real game that you play and be that playoff game? I think the Browns desperately, they want that 5 spot. They want it. I don't want them to have to play Miami. I don't want to play Tyreek Hill, especially the banged up secondary that the Browns have. I don't want them to have to play Kansas City, especially at Kansas City. I think I like the Browns' chances against having to play, whether it's the Jaguars or the Houston Texans. That 5 spot is very important. And that's the same for Cincinnati. If they can make the playoffs, they want that 5 spot. They feel confident about, Burrowhead and all this stuff. Might have to be Browninghead or whatever you call it at this point. But the bottom line is that 5 spot is what people are wanting. Even a average Kansas City team this year sitting at 9-5, you still don't want to go to Kansas City and play in January. So that 5 spot is it's a coveted spot in the playoffs, that's for sure.
Yeah, if I'm a Browns fan, I'm not chalking up the division. I mean, yeah, the Ravens got the lead right now, but like it's not set in stone. I mean, they could still lose these games. And if I'm the Browns, I'm trying to win the division still because it's still there for the taking. I mean, you are able to beat the Ravens already once this season. Yeah, granted, that guy that was playing quarterback, especially in that second half, won't be playing this season, but the division is still there for the Browns to be taken, and that will equal a home playoff game. So I'm trying to win the division still. I mean, as bad as the Pittsburgh Steelers have been this season, the one team that always seems to beat the Baltimore Ravens is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that game is at the end of the regular season. Who knows, like you talked about with the Browns and the Bengals game, what could be on stake that last game of the regular season, because the Baltimore Ravens, they got to still win these games. The Dolphins are hot on their heels for that number 1 seed. The Kansas City Chiefs, considering the teams that they played the back half of the season, they're still in contention for the number 1 seed. Everybody's looking at Baltimore, basically handing them the 1 seed, but their schedule is way tougher than Kansas City's. So if I'm the Browns, I'm thinking we can still win the division.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this is what's coming up. And give the Ravens credit, much as it pains me. This stretch in Pittsburgh is usually better than what they are this season. But when you looked at that final month of the season or the final 4-game stretch for them, having to play at Jacksonville, having to play at San Francisco, Miami, and Pittsburgh to close out the season. So they just got the win over Jacksonville, of course. But now you got to go play at San Francisco.
Right.
That could be a Super Bowl preview right there. They have to play Miami. That's going to be a tough one. That could be an AFC championship preview right there when it's all said and done. And then they got to close out the regular season against Pittsburgh. They're hoping that's a meaningless game. They're hoping that they're resting Lamar. They're hoping that, but again, they got to get through San Francisco on the road and Miami. And then, of course, Cleveland has the Texans, who's not as easy of a game as, back in September when you're circling the easy wins, right? Houston, the Browns are favored, but that's not going to be hell, they were favored against the Bears, and it took the whole damn 4 quarters, literally, to hold off the Bears. So it's going to be an interesting sprint to the finish line, no doubt about it. All right, it's the Kinner and Kev show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Happy Monday, everybody. We'll step away for a few moments. Let's talk about that Browns game. Talk about Cleveland Browns. Got some Ohio State talk around the corner. Buckeye fans panicking. Hey, the portal's there for a reason. The portal is there to improve your team. Well, the Buckeyes have not touched the portal once. What's going on? We'll talk about that later on in the hour. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers in studio with us. We got a lot to get into here today. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
Hey, Cordell Transportation is now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers, excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply right now online at CordellTransportation.com. Do it right now. Driven to succeed.
Hungry for a great time, maybe some great food? Then come on down to your neighborhood Submarine House. Try our oven-toasted deli subs, our mouth-watering salads, pizzas, appetizers, and more. And wash them down with a unique selection of craft beers while watching the big game on our big screens. With locations around Dayton, in Columbus, and our newest sports bar in Kettering, you're never far from a Submarine House. Subs, sports, spirits. Submarine House.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Still looking for amazing gifts? At Total Wine & More, find gifts for everyone on your list. You'll always find what you love and love what you find. Total Wine & More. Spirits not sold in Virginia, North Carolina. Drink responsibly. B21.
A holiday message from Jackson Hewitt.
'Twas the yikes before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, except Larry. See, the stockings weren't hung by the chimney with care, 'cause Larry's wallet was empty with no time to spare. So he went to Jackson Hewitt for a holiday loan, got money so fast he rejoiced and went home. Avoid the yikes before Christmas. Go to Jackson Hewitt before it's too late. Get up to $1,000 fast, minus the wait.
Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
I feel like I'm constantly cleaning hair off my bathroom floor. At least my Swiffer Sweeper makes it easy. Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths have ultra-thick pads to trap and lock hairs, like a hair magnet. And when I'm finished cleaning up my hair, Sweeper takes care of his too. Now the hair's gone, all thanks to Swiffer. Try Swiffer Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths. I promise you'll love them or your money back. And also try Swiffer Sweeper Wet to make quick work of tough, sticky messes.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on a Monday. We are Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We are Dayton's radio home of Wright State Raiders basketball, and we'll be live at Modex tonight from 6 to 7 for the Wright State Raiders coaches show. Coach Nagy and a couple Raider players will be setting up shop at Modex, right across from the cinemas, of course, at the Green. So stop on out tonight. The Wright State Coaches Show, 6 to 7 p.m. Of course, that's ahead of tomorrow night's matchup. Wright State welcoming in Miami of Ohio tomorrow, 7 o'clock the tip-off, 6:45 coverage begins. But we're giving away tickets. So text Raiders to 518-1410 if you want to go watch the Raiders take on Miami of Ohio tomorrow night. Text Raiders to 518-1410. And, of course, if you're a winner, we'll text you those tickets. It's easy access. So take advantage of that. Text Raiders to 518-1410.
Can I go?
Yes, you know.
Oh, sweet, dude.
I'll be going. You'll be going. A lot of people will be going tomorrow night. Conference play tips off for a lot of teams. Ohio State, they've had a very good non-conference. You know how tough it is to be ranked right now? I mean, Ohio State's had a very good non-conference. They've beat a lot of really good teams. This is actually a better non-con for Ohio State than I had anticipated. They have that typical loss in the Big Ten, though. I don't know what it is about Big Ten play. I have no idea. Where Holtman had a double-digit lead, and then, of course, the Buckeyes let it slip, and they end up losing to Penn State in their only conference game or Big Ten team that they've played thus far. But really, it just comes down to making the tournament for Holtman to save his job. I mean, I'm a Holtman fan, but they look really good. They have a balance of size. They have a balance of scorers and shooters and defenders, and I like the kid that they got from Minnesota, the transfer there. There's one of the better built Holtman teams, if you will.
How many wins in conference you think?
How many they play again? Is it?
I think they play
18 or is it 20?
I think it's
plus?
20 now.
So it's 20.
Imagine what it's going to be next year.
They leave 10 to 12. 10 to 12. I mean, that's still giving you 8 losses, but 10 to 12. Look, I get it, people. I don't like when people, I know you're one of them that say the Big Ten's overrated. I don't think them not winning a national championship doesn't mean it's not a good conference. Like, for instance, college football this year. I mean, you could look at what would you consider the deepest conference this year?
Pac-12.
And, they may have a national champion right there, but if they end up not having a national champion hoisting the trophy at the end, it doesn't mean that they weren't a good or deep conference. The Big Ten just has a bunch of really good teams, but they just never seem to have the best team, if that makes sense. So it's a tough conference. You're literally playing a team with a number in front of it every single night that never seems to fail. So it's not an excuse, but I mean, when people talk about Ohio State, they were in the 7th or 8th in the Big Ten last year. Yeah, 7th or 8th, and that's probably top 4 or top 3 in any other conference. And that's not an excuse or whatever. That's just the reality of it. The Big Ten, it's a bitch of a conference to play in. I excuse my language this holiday season, but it just is.
Oh.
But hey, whoa.
Get your mind out the gutter,
man. But nonetheless, I'm sorry. This is a live show. We're gonna lose our top rating now. Our Yelp reviews are gonna just hurt us here. But no, I agree with you. Every year they say the Big Ten's the best. I still think it is. I think it's the best basketball conference out there, even though they haven't won a damn national championship. Why am I cussing? I'm like Shaw. I'm like a Michigan fan. They haven't won a national championship since 2000 with Michigan State, and that was not a few years ago. That was a few decades ago.
Yeah,
so
definitely a long time ago.
We'll see.
Wright State beat that team, by the way.
They did that year.
Yes,
at
sir.
the Nutter Center.
Yes, sir.
That's why a lot of teams are afraid to play at the Nutter Center.
It all makes sense now.
It does.
Raider up, baby.
Yeah. So there's that. Troy on Facebook says ACC is the best in basketball most years. They have they have more championship. I mean, again, Ohio State or the Big Ten has championship contenders. Look, I just think the Big Ten, it's the deepest and best conference, but there's more. I don't know. I guess it's always challenging too. Like the ACC does have the most title contenders, though. I mean, if you're Duke, but the
this
Big 12,
year,
you could actually, I'm saying
I would
the Big
say
10,
I would
Big
say
12.
either title contenders. I would say either the Big 12 or Big 10. I think there's only three title contenders in the ACC: Duke, North Carolina, and Virginia. I don't think there's in Syracuse. I don't think they're a title contender. I don't think that Virginia, Texas, Miami, maybe, depending on like how these guys they got in the portal worked out. You can name several teams out there from the Big 12 and the Big 10 that are title contenders. Now, actually hoisting the title is two totally different conversations.
College basketball is so difficult to talk about because every time, you look at, Vegas, they make bank, obviously, during the NCAA tournament because no one gets it right. You think you know, but you don't know. Like in college football, it's easy. Like I know there's some surprise teams, a team or two that have a better season. but you know who the title contenders are heading into the season. Like Duke, just because they're Duke doesn't mean they're a title contender.
Right.
Same thing with North Carolina. Same thing with a lot of the blue bloods, Kentucky and others. In college basketball, we have no clue. We could look. I mean, Purdue, number one team for the majority of the year. They got their number one spot back today when the rankings came out. Sure, they're a title contender. They're the number one team they may not even make the Sweet 16. That's just how this stuff works. So basketball is always tough to talk about, to highlight the true title contenders, because Florida Atlantic, no one said they were a title contender last year. Look at where they ended up.
Right.
So basketball is a much different animal to talk about than college football, where we know, okay, there's going to be 10 teams competing for 4 spots in the 14 playoff. But of those 10, how many of them are true national championship contenders? That number's significantly smaller. Basketball, Florida Atlantic's a title contender. Like, that's what's wild about college basketball. It's always tough to kind of pick through that. But Ohio State, I actually think they have enough to be a threat when it's all said and done. But you never know. It's December. We don't need
exactly.
to talk about that. But they are built, I think, to have success in the Big Ten. They just got to get through those demons, man, because that Penn State game, that's not a good Penn State team. That's a bad loss. For all the good wins Holtman's had, that's a bad loss. I won't sugarcoat that.
I think it really all comes down, like you said, man, this conference play. And if you're able to navigate anywhere between 12 and 15 conference wins, you put yourself in a good position to play an opponent that, quote unquote, you should be better than. But I mean, it's a bear of a schedule. Obviously, you got Purdue, and I mean, we know how Purdue is, at least during the regular season. They're monsters. And I mean, you got to go up to Michigan State. Even though Michigan State had a bad loss earlier in the season, they had a great win this past weekend. So it's a monster conference. If you get 12 to 15, you're perfectly fine. You're good. You're exactly where you want to be. You'll be in the big dance, and then you'll be in the way of, playing your way into the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four. Who knows what would have happened by then?
We'll see.
It's
Skinner and Cap, 1410 ESPN Radio. But again, tomorrow night, Wright State at home, welcoming in Miami of Ohio. A big non-conference matchup for them as they prepare for conference play, which is December 29th. It's all conference play moving forward for them. But if you want tickets, text Raiders to 518-1410. I appreciate everyone that's already messaged in. We'll get those to us. We have a certain amount that we're able to give away. We'll give them out to as many of you that text in as possible. So just keep that in mind. Text Raiders to 518-1410. All right. The Cleveland Browns yesterday. I don't know how the hell they keep doing this. It's the Joe Flacco thing. If I get crap from one more person about the Joe Flacco thing, I'm here to tell you, I'm a hypocrite. I'm not hiding it. I'm not doing the whole, like, Kev, it's like you want me to say, oh, no, I've always been a Joe Flacco fan. Hell no, I have not always been a Joe Flacco fan. And let's be clear. If Joe Flacco was a guy averaging 300 yards a game like he's doing with my precious Cleveland Browns, I would not have been able to say, like, the guy's a former Super Bowl MVP, no doubt about it. But like I said, there's been a lot of guys that have been able to win Super Bowl MVPs that were just hot in the right spot at the right time. However, there is no denying that even the people that respected Joe Flacco during his Ravens career, they're even surprised by what we're witnessing here in the early going. How much of this is truly who he is, and how much of this is one of those, like we saw it with Joshua Dobbs, where it's just a little hot run, and then all of a sudden everything comes crashing back down to earth. From you're out of this. So what I mean, like, you're not a Browns
I'm definitely
fan.
out of it.
What I mean is you're not a Browns fan, so you're not looking at it through homeristic goggles like I'm sure many people think I am. Is this just one of those little weird little hot runs like we saw from Dobbs and some others that end up fizzling out, or is this who he is? I don't mean 300 yards a game, but he's capable of it on any given week.
This is who he is. This is who he's been his entire career. This is what you see is what you get. You're going to have hot Joe Flacco where he throws for 4 touchdowns, throwing dimes all over the place. And then you're going to have the Joe Flacco game where he throws 3 interceptions and keeps both teams in the game. That's who he is. That's who he is as a quarterback. So 9 times out of 10, he's going to have another bad game before the season's over, but he's also going to have one of those, oh my goodness, did you see that throw games? Like, that's who he is. And the good part about Joe Flacco, you get more of the good than you get the bad. It's just like when that bad shows up, it's bad, and you ultimately lose that game. But in this case, they were able to win the game, and it wasn't just because the defense, even though the defense was great, but he was able to make throws and make plays with his legs, something I didn't see coming.
And a lot of his best throws, and this was when I was watching the game yesterday, I'm like, what in the world? His best throws, and he's a pocket quarterback. He's what you would classify as a pocket quarterback. His best, and he's not an agile quarterback. He's not athletic. He's not going to make plays with his legs. But his best throws yesterday, every time he was flushed out to the right, they would roll him to the right, little play action. anytime he rolled to the right, those were his best throws yesterday. The 2 big plays to Amari Cooper, the big plays to, of course, David Njoku. All of those came from him rolling out to the right. I don't know. I'm really not comfortable drawing up those plays all the dang time by any means, but at the same time, it is one of those wild situations where you just kind of sit back and take it all in. And he stepped up and made big boy throws. Now, I've said this before. When there was talk of whether the Browns should go get Joe Flacco or not, I said, yes. This team is built right now to where they need a quarterback that can come in and just play the quarterback position and not learn how to play it. DTR might turn into a very good backup quarterback or maybe a starting quarterback down the road, maybe unlikely. But besides that, this Browns team was mathematically in the playoff hunt. They didn't have time for a rookie quarterback with flaws to come in to learn how to play the position. Your team is built similar. Now they're pretty banged up, especially on defense. But I felt that the Browns and Steelers were very similar as far as all defense, a lot of limitations on offense. And you have quarterbacks who just can't play at a high level. Kenny Pickett was the best of them, and even he had so many limitations that even backups around the division are lapping him. And that's not a shot. That's just the reality of
facts.
It. So the Steelers are another team that had they grabbed Joe Flacco without all these other injuries on the defense, I think the Steelers are where the Browns are right now, and the Browns are looking up. But the Browns made the smart choice to go get a Joe Flacco. They didn't sit back and say, well, but the thing is, you knew the limitations of Rudolph. You know what you have with Pickett, obviously Trubisky. Those are semi-different there because you know they're not learning how to play. You know who they are. You know who Joe Flacco is. You know he could play the game. He's coming in, though. I think he's playing better than most had anticipated him looking like. I mean, he's making big-time throws, big-time plays, and kudos. But he's also making a lot of mistakes. I mean, the 3 interceptions yesterday, and luckily he was self-aware to bring it up in the postgame that, and by the way, the Bears suck offensively. Justin Fields, can we just stop? I mean, I get it. He's a Buckeye, but come on. Like, the only reason that they scored in those situations is because Joe Flacco was also the best Bears quarterback yesterday because the passes that he threw to the Bears put them in better scoring position than what Justin Fields was doing. Now, Fields did make that really nice throw where he scrambled out. You saw glimpses of the former Buckeye quarterback there, but holy smokes, the Bears so bad offensively, and Flacco basically gave them points. He turned it over at the worst spots of the field, and the only time they scored were off of his mistakes. He has to clean those up. But there were some other opportunities that the Bears had to capitalize on, including that damn Hail Mary. But he takes chances. He zips those in there. And there was one that it was to Amari Cooper where if the defender just turned, it's right there. And Amari Cooper said, my bad. He was late turning to it as well. But I'm like, he's going to take chances, and the Bears defense not bad, but better defenses will capitalize on that. It's my only fear. It's going to be a Brett Favre type of situation. He's going to make some amazing throws, and he's going to score a ton of points. They're going to throw for a lot of yards. But they overcame those 3 interceptions against the Bears. But if they even have an average offense that they're going up against, the Bengals will destroy them in that situation. The Chiefs will destroy them. The Jets will find a way, especially with they're going to face that ugly game against the Bears. I think we're going to see something similar against the Jets here in 2 weeks. Because that defense is stingy. They're not going to give up hardly anything, very similar to the Bears. You turn that over against the Jets, you're asking for a disaster right there. So, and that's why Tim, the Packers fan, has the bet with me about that game. We'll see what happens, but I'm fine with it. They all the injuries and those 3 interceptions, and they still found a way to win yesterday. Again, I've said this all damn year. The Browns don't win those games, and they've been winning them all year.
Yeah. Speaking for someone that doesn't have a ring in this circus, watching that game, one, never make excuses for winning, no matter how you get the win. If it's 2-0, 3-0, take the win and run. If it's a situation where Joe Flacco kept both teams in the game by throwing interceptions and you still win, oh, well, take the win and run. I will say, from the Bears' perspective, oh my gosh, can we get some stickum on these receivers? Like I think it's the same one you were talking about, the one that you rolled out and the tight end was like behind everybody and it looked like I was trying to catch it and he dropped it. And then the Hail Mary that you alluded to, like they knocked it right into his hands and he still dropped it.
Did it come down hard? It was KB talked about this on his show. That ball, it wasn't like spikes down to him and you have to like his hands were out. He was watching it the whole way. I was watching it. No, it was wild. Dude.
It was crazy. It was like, wait, these dudes are going to win this game off of this? And no, they weren't, because it's the Chicago Bears. And then I think a look back at the defensive plays made by the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears fans, I feel your pain because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. The last 2 years, this is how we've been winning games, strictly on defense. I mean, some of the interceptions made, one obviously was Joe Flacco's fault, but the other 2, The one where he gets smeared and the ball pops up in the air. That's not on the quarterback. That's the dude. It's football. Ball comes, he gets hit, ball pops in the air, linebacker catches it, takes it to the house. Technically, that's an interception from the quarterback, but like that's just a great play by the defense. And then you look at the one where I believe it's Njoku who's down the seam. He's basically, I won't say baited because the corner has two responsibilities. Has the guy on the wheel route on the out, and then he also has the guy in the seam. He dives, which seems to be like 10 feet in the air laterally, and makes the interception. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the other team for making plays. I know in the stat sheet, it'll say Joe Flacco, 3 interceptions. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the other team for making plays. And speaking of somebody making plays, it was probably the defensive player of the year and Myles Garrett, who's probably should win the defensive player of the year. I say this all the time. My tweet that goes out when I see horrible calls. I didn't get a chance to do it yesterday. These refs, I just always say it. These refs were absolutely horrible in the Browns-Bears game. This was never called once, and I'm doing the holding sign for people watching the video. They never called holding on the Bears, not a one time. Myles Garrett was not only being held, he was being tackled all over the field the entire game. Not saying this is Myles Garrett's fault at all, but when he came out last week and was complaining about not getting calls, I personally think that these referees, quote unquote, took it personal and said, we're not going to call it.
Yeah.
Normally, that's something you see in the NBA. That's like a NBA thing. I've really never seen this happen in the NFL where like, all right, these referees that have something to prove, we're going to shut you up. That was horrible. And the NFL needs to do something about this type of stuff. You cannot have referees with personal agendas against players. Call what you see. The man was being held. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I want the Browns to lose all the time, but I want it to be fair.
You see this with Watt too.
Yes, he did it last week too.
The bias between the officials and like calling them out, but like they're so good that they almost protect the offensive lines against them. Like
it is
because they do it against Watt all the time.
Call it. And I said the same thing when Shaq was dominating the NBA and he would get fouled and the referee's not calling. And they would say, well, he's just so much bigger than everybody else. We can't call foul all the time. Yes, you can. That's a part of the game. You can't rake somebody against the arm with 2 hands and not call a foul. That's a foul. Well, if we call that, they won't have any players. That's their problem. Oh, if we call holding every time, we'll be delaying the game. Well, NFL games are already 4 hours. I remember they used to be 3 hours. What's the extra 30 minutes? Like, these referees have to get it right. And not only the referees have to get it right, the NFL has to do something about it. They can't just send in a report on Monday. Sorry about the 15 missed calls, but you won anyway. But what if the Bears would have caught that pass, that Hail Mary, and they would have won the game? What if that would have happened? You would have affected the game by not calling these holding penalties. You have to call the games correctly, man. That is just flat out wrong. What's going on in all forms of sports with these blind referees all of a sudden.
What was that movie with Sandra Bullock?
Yeah.
That's the officials out there. What was it called?
I can't remember. I know which one you're talking about though.
I could see it too. They're walking around. Yeah, but that's
and like I said, this is from a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Like just simply watching the game because my wife is a Browns fan. I have to watch these games. I'm like, oh, they're just not gonna call anything. Like he got held by the neck one time, horse collared one time, and like they just weren't calling it.
He's pursuing that sack record too.
Not gonna get it. Gonna get it because if they're gonna let the other team hold you, then you're not gonna get to the quarterback. And I mean, he still was causing pressure on the quarterback. Something has to be done in the NFL with some of these calls, man.
No, not the Damon Hahn. You thought you were saving the day. You were wrong on that. He said the longest yard. First of all, that wasn't Sandra Bullock either. So you're right. Wait, you're way off on that. That's Adam Sandler.
Look at Kenner finally getting a movie question right.
It's one of the few damn movies I watched. But it wasn't The Blind Side either. See, they want to say The Blind Side because I said Sandra Bullock. No,
right.
It was another one. But good reference though. I mean, it is what it is. I am so glad with all of my triggers in sports that officiating is just not one of them. Now, I will say, I've never played at a high level, but when I played, I would get pissed. I remember I played. So Mark Ashman played at UD. The Wright State had a light campus. I remember when Ickey Woods came in. icky, man. He always has the same facial expression. Like, it never changes. Like, even when he's laughing, like but I had him rolling. I didn't think the story was that funny, but he thought it was like the funniest thing. When I told him the story about how I didn't play, it was Wright State, we were playing, I think Sinclair. So we played Sinclair. I didn't play 1 second that game, but I got pissed at the official. So I stopped my foot and I yelled something I shouldn't have. And, tons of people there. How did they hear me? And I lost our team. I got a technical and, got technical. And then Sinclair goes, they knock down some free throws, win the game, whatever. I'm not pretending to be like an athlete. Relax, guys. I'm just using the example of I had rage. I hated officials when I was playing anything competitive. But as a fan, and you could at least back me up on this. I've been consistent about officiating. I've never let officiating I was more pissed at the 3 turnovers than I was about the officiating because I never believe like officiating will never be good. I've had the belief that I've never once watched a game and said, man, this officiating is pretty good. There's things that piss me. Like the Myles Garrett thing. I was irritated with that, but all I could think about is, man, you don't turn it over. You don't give them that free point, those free points right there, whatever. But man, I'm glad I don't have that rage as a fan when it comes to officiating. I remember that Fiesta Bowl game when people were pissed about the officiating. And I said, hello, Ohio State gave up 21 unanswered points. Like that to me had more to do with the outcome of the game than it did in Ohio State missing field goals and all that stuff. And, so that stuff drove me nuts back then. But the Myles Garrett thing's different.
Yeah, it's for me. It's like the referees have to get these things right. But then when from my perspective, it's referees have a vendetta out for a player or a team. I mean, what's the referee that Chris Paul always gets into it with, and his record versus that referee is whatever it is. Like, that is beyond the problem. Like, betting lines change off of who's refereeing Chris Paul games. Like, that shouldn't happen. So I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that. Look, and it's a good comparison with the Shaq thing too, because every time down the floor he was fouled and they just didn't call it. I can't remember. It was one of those little TikTok videos where Shaq was talking about, it was either Phil Jackson or it was Stern, who was the previous commissioner of the NBA. I almost said Howard Stern. It's not Howard Stern. Commissioner Stern.
Commissioner Stern.
Why the hell? I know who he is. I'm a big fan of his too. RIP. But I remember he was ticked off at Commissioner Stern at the time about the officiating and stuff, and he said, "We can't. We're changing the rules because he goes, we have an entire league to make rules for. We can't just change the rules for one player." And he goes, that was how he was responded to by the league. And that's kind of like, hey, we can't change, but it's not changing the rules. It's following the rules. Call the rule. It's following
David
the rules.
Stern.
David Stern. Howard Stern. What the hell's wrong with me? And you didn't say Howard, but you were like, you thought, you were like, it was Stern. I knew that.
I know it was that. Anybody need a good laugh, go ahead and YouTube David Stern and Jim Rome. Thank me later.
And Jim Rome had some goodies back in the day.
Yeah.
Got beat up.
Yeah. Jim Rome, David Stern. Watch it on YouTube.
I haven't even seen that one. I'll have to go check it out.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
Let's see. Nathan Eisen on Facebook says, it's just weird watching Joe playing for Baltimore and hating him, but now loving him. Can you think, we've seen stuff like this happen. We've seen Brett Favre play for the Packers, go play for the Vikings and have success there. Yeah. Can you think of any other examples like that? It's not like Tom Brady left the Patriots and would go on to play for the Jets or something. He went to the other conference. So this is a very unique one.
It's more of a baseball thing.
Yeah, you see, baseball players love living within their division. Brewers go to the Reds, Reds go to the Brewers, Cubs go to the there's like a weird little pact. You play in those ballparks all the time, so it's that sense of familiarity. You're comfortable there. You kind of get to know those ballparks a lot too. I don't know if that's why. But even free agents pick to go within the division at times. It's not just trading. But yes, this is very weird. This would be like if Big Ben came out of retirement to go play for somebody.
Right.
Do you think that they've kicked the tires on Big Ben?
Now
that they're out of it.
They should.
When they were in it, that's
they
wild
should. The only other one I could really think of off the top of my head is Ray Allen.
Jamal Lewis, another good one. Steve Kammerman, good job on that one. Ray Allen, so he was obviously with Seattle.
Celtics to the Heat.
Oh, that's a perfect one. Yes, I was thinking Seattle going to but you're right. That was the rival.
Yeah.
Even though they're not in the same division, right? Do they even do divisions in the NBA anymore?
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah, if there's ever a sport where divisions don't matter, the NBA is it. But it was the rival thing, though. Like, the division didn't really matter. It was the fact that you went to the Heat. as far as that's concerned. But no, Jamal Lewis, that's a good one.
Jamal Lewis.
The Ravens and Browns, he played for both.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, but he wasn't doing. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, now I remember. Yeah.
But Flacco, man, like I said, there's quarterbacks that are coming in and they're on teams that are winning because of yes, the defense is winning Browns games, but we're seeing the Browns move the football in a way that we haven't seen them move, even going back to the guy I've defended as a football player, Deshaun Watson. People are trying to stir that pot too. What happens if he leads them to the promised land? What do you do with Deshaun Watson? You welcome him in for week 1. That's
Build Joe Flacco a statue and welcome back Deshaun Watson. Same thing that the Cincinnati Bengals would do with Brownie. You build Brown in a statue and say, you're the backup quarterback next year.
God, you know what I want for Christmas? I want a quarterback named Joe to do something for Cleveland that the Bengals Joe couldn't do. Good stuff. Hey, Ohio State. Can you imagine, by the way, so you're a Steelers fan, your Steelers have deficiencies. Can you imagine come free agency if they just did nothing? We're not going to add any. We're not going to improve. We're just going to stick as is. It's not the same thing with the transfer portal, but it kind of is perception-wise. Ohio State, they haven't done anything in the transfer portal. They've lost more players than they've added, and they haven't added one single player. I'm here to ask you, is it a problem that they have not added one player from the transfer portal? We'll discuss that when we come back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Can I call Flacco Joe Burr?
Oh, God.
Oh, man, if he beats the Bengals in week 17, I'm calling. That's the new Joe Burr. Joe Burr.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit, hims.com/joy.
This is Keith Byers for Superbook Sports. You spend valuable time thinking about which bets to place each week. So why wouldn't you want the best company in the business to be the one who handles those bets? Superbook Sports is the most trusted name in Las Vegas, and it's now live right here in Ohio for all your sports wagering needs. Superbook has a team of dedicated odds makers behind the counter in Las Vegas setting all the prices. We're talking about guys with decades of experience showing you why Superbook has the best odds around. And right now, you can look ahead to hockey and hoops postseason and place a bet on who you think will take home the title. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com to wager and win today. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-589-9966. Call 1-800-589-9966. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-589-9966. Call 1-800-589-9966.
At Harley-Davidson of Xenia, the atmosphere is positively electric as we look to the future. Our name may have changed, but Harley-Davidson of Xenia has been locally owned since 1984. Under our new management, the staff in store are buzzing to get you set up for the open road. Whether you're shopping for merchandise, a new bike, or just need some maintenance on your current ride, Harley-Davidson of Xenia is here for you. Visit us online to learn more and to place a reservation on your new bike. hdofxenia.com.
Hi, Greg McAfee here with McAfee Heating and Air. There has never been a better time to start a new career. If you are 18 years or older with a high school diploma or GED and enjoy working with your hands, consider the McAfee Apprenticeship Program, where you will learn everything you need through in-class and on-the-job training. Apply today at mcair.com. That's mcair.com.
Looking for sweet heat that's hard to beat? Head to Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and try the Hot Honey Chicken Sandwich, here for a limited time. This all-new sandwich features our famous hand-breaded, pressure-cooked chicken breast covered in Mike's Hot Honey on a brioche bun. It's the chicken sandwich made sweeter and spicier. Discover the craveable flavor that can only happen when Mike's Hot Honey meets Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Pick up an irresistible Hot Honey Chicken Sandwich today. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Folks, the Colonel here with Homestead Feed and Supply. Homestead is proud to introduce Purina feed products, including Fitter, Honor Show Feeds, Depth Charge. Heck, they've even got the golden ticket. Come out to Homestead Feed and Supply, 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
'Tis the season. If you need a COVID shot, but you're underinsured or uninsured, contact Five Rivers Health Centers. To schedule your vaccination, call 937-281-6800 or log on to fiverivershealthcenters.org.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Tax refund advance loans at Jackson Hewitt. Starting December 11th, early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Risa, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Now's the time to get a great deal on Kubota construction equipment, featuring durable Kubota engines, more comfort, more productivity, more get it done right. The Kubota construction lineup shows up ready to work every day. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 36 months. Now through December 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details.
Stop by Columbus Equipment in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see our full line of Kubota construction equipment, or check us out online at columbusequipment.com.
Frickin' chicken chunks, frickin' chicken chunks, frickin' chicken chunks, frickin' chicken chunks.
When there's no time to make food for your holiday party, carry out 4 pounds of frickin' chicken chunks for only $34.99.
White State Basketball has a new radio home on 1410 ESPN Radio and 101.5 Hank FM. Don't miss the Raiders all season long with Chris Collins and Jim Brown on the call. For tickets to upcoming home games, visit WSURaiders.com.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. I'm Justin Kinner, of course. He's Kev Nash with you here on a Monday. Coming up here following the show, we're going to be over at Modex for the Wright State Basketball Coaches Show. So if you're out and about tonight and you're getting some Christmas shopping done over at the Green, stop on out. Say hello for the Wright State Coaches Show, which will be live on 1410 ESPN Radio and 101.5 Hank FM, Dayton's radio home of Wright State Basketball, which tomorrow night, Wright State, Miami of Ohio, 7 o'clock the tip-off, 6:45 coverage begins. Excited for that matchup. Again, conference play coming up around the corner. We talked a little college basketball the last part of the show. Wright State trying to get into some kind of groove heading into conference play. Their record's not good, but I'm not just saying this because they're on our state. They're good.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't played consistently, but they've showed flashes of being good. But they have been very inconsistent. There's no doubt about that. Coach Nagy would tell you the same thing. You got a chance to hear a little bit of the coaches show. You were taken back by how blunt Coach Nagy can be.
Absolutely. You told me
yeah.
that he's a straight shooter, and I was like, well, I've really never paid attention to that side of Coach Nagy. I watch the games, go to the games, root on the team, and that's about it. But to be there in that setting and basically any question he got asked, he answered it right there on the spot. You see a lot of other coaches, him and Hall, try to, give you the answer that people want to hear. He doesn't do that at all. He tells it how he sees it. I mean, he's been coaching for a very long time, so he knows exactly what he wants out of his team. And, especially on the offensive end, he talked about it being very stagnant at points, like guys like get into the one-on-one mode or like a clear out situation. And he gives the guys a lot of freedom. Like that's what makes people want to play for him, but you still have to play with inside the offense. And like you talked about, certain guys like get it at the elbow and just start backing down, like swing the ball around, keep the ball moving and things of that nature. And then he started talking about like the upcoming opponent and talking about like, they put up a lot of shots. They're a fast-paced team. We had to play defense, and we turned around and gave up 94 points. So I'm sure Coach had a field day at practice.
Right, they were one of the best offensive teams in the country.
Yeah.
They could score with anyone.
Yep.
When I said they could score with anyone, it's been a wild non-conference schedule. They went to Indiana, a Big Ten team, and they dropped 81 on them, and their leading scorer that averages 20 a game didn't play that game. Like they could, and that's what Coach Nagy said. He goes, hey, this isn't a shot at Trey Calvin. Like, of course, we want him out there. But, like, the fact that we went and dropped 80 on that opponent, on a Big Ten opponent on the road, I mean, it was sold out. It was unbelievable atmosphere. Offense isn't the problem. They just can't stop anyone. They can't stop a nosebleed right now. And I'm not talking smack. I think Coach Nagy would tell you the same thing. But defense, that's going to be the key to their improvement as far as that's concerned. But Wright State Coaches Show, Coach Nagy will kick the show off at 6 o'clock. So keep that in mind as that's coming up here in just a little bit. The transfer portal, Ohio State. I use your Steelers as an example. We only have a couple minutes left here, but your Steelers have deficiencies. Every team has deficiencies. And to head into an off season and to not address those deficiencies, and I know people get uncomfortable talking college sports like that, but whether you like the portal or not, the portal is there, and you can go get players to fix. Like, there's no, like I've said this before, the Cincinnati Bengals, their offensive line has been so bad for so long, and I'm always like, why? You could spend money to fix your offensive line. You should never have a consistent weakness at a position in the National Football League or any sport because you have the freedom to go improve at that position. It just doesn't make any sense. Well, that's kind of where we're at with college football right now, Kev. I don't want to hear another year of Ohio State being bad at offensive line. I don't want another year of being told that they're soft defensively. And we saw the improvement defensively here, no doubt. But when you have the portal, an opportunity to improve your team, Kev, and you don't do anything, and there's still time to get something done, but it is alarming, and Buckeye fans are not happy. Ohio State and Ryan Day, even with other deficiencies, not saying they haven't tried, but they have not landed one player in the portal at this point.
I would say relax on that front because the portal closes like in a couple days. Just because the portal closes, that just simply means you can't enter your name again until the next portal opening. But once you're in the portal, you can still decide what school you're going to go to. With that being said, it is kind of alarming that they have not decided to get anybody, or someone hasn't decided to choose them, should I say. You see other teams out there racking up players left and right. You can talk about where these guys are ranked, where they aren't ranked. When you see a program like Texas A&M that had the #1 recruiting class like 2 years ago, and all their players are scattering across the country, and we're not in the mix with any, from offensive linemen to defensive tackles to defensive ends to cornerbacks to safeties to wide receivers to tight ends. Like, they're spread out across the country. And then, like, you can say, all right, well, we didn't have a connection with them. Okay, fine. Then you see what's going on at Georgia. There's tons of guys leaving Georgia. Not only guys going pro, there's tons of guys hitting the portal. So you see a lot of those guys migrating to other schools as well. You mean to tell me nobody on Georgia's roster is good enough to play on Ohio State's roster?
They're not leaving because they're bad. They're leaving because there's not.
There's
like a Kyle McCordex.
It's a log jam at certain positions, and one of those positions is the offensive line. So it's offensive linemen from Georgia in the portal, and they're choosing to go other places. I'm not sure what the issue is. Haven't heard any rumblings or anything like that, but like the thing that people really want to focus on is the quarterback, which is the least of my worries. To be perfectly honest, is as mid or as terrible, however you want to word it, what Kyle McCord was last year, he was not the biggest problem. He was the issue, but he wasn't the biggest issue. The biggest issue was the offensive line, and from what the transfer portal is telling us about the lack of activity going to Ohio State is we're running it back with the guys that we got, and we're banking on those guys getting better.
And that was, I mean, look, we're so, as Ohio State, we're an arrogant fan base. I mean, but there was a while back where, I mean, you would hear certain individuals say, we don't recruit, we select. I think Ohio, and I agreed with that.
Different time now.
It's not the same times anymore. Like Ohio State's no longer selecting. And I think sometimes Ohio State, you had to be good recruiting wise, but sometimes the school and the program took care of that itself, right? We're learning about how good of a recruiter you have to be right now. The best recruiters are going to win today because, yes, there's a balance of NIL and recruiting, but yes, Ohio State, that was their bragging point. They didn't have to recruit. They just had to select. Now, that's I'm not saying that they were lazy or anything like that, but it wasn't hard to convince people to come to Ohio State. Well, now coaches have to change their mindset. We have to convince people to come to Ohio State now. It doesn't matter about the tradition and the dotting of the I and once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. Every school has tradition. Every top-tier school has this idea that no one out there is better than us. That's not true. It's just not. No one. It's not a bad situation in Columbus, but this idea that we are the destination school, it's just not it. And to be fair, Alabama is no longer a destination, and Georgia's not. But those schools have kind of done a better job than Ohio State at figuring out the balance of recruiting and NIL at the same time. I think you'd say we don't know. I don't know either, but I haven't heard the best things about the NIL being the most efficient. The dollars are there, but they're not very buttoned up.
A lot of ego involved.
Yep.
A lot of ego involved. And I mean, think about it like this. There's guys in the transfer portal from teams playing in the Final Four. There's guys from Texas. There's guys from Bama. There's guys from Michigan. There's guys from Washington. Matter of fact, I don't think I've seen anybody from Washington in the portal. I'm sure there is, but I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. But like, I know like big time guys. Now we can talk about which guys they are. We talked about Malik Murphy. Like, all right, man, that's probably not a fit for Ohio State. Add another young quarterback to a room. Like, we're probably looking for a veteran quarterback. But there's defensive tackles and offensive linemen from Alabama in the portal. Call them.
Yep.
At least talk to them. See what they're about.
And I don't know let me ask you what's more alarming, that there is activity and that they are talking to them and they're just not coming, or that they're not talking to them. Which one would be more? So if an official report came out today and it said, breaking news, Ohio State has not even efforted to plug holes through the transfer portal. Is that worse? Or is Ohio State like the Reds? The Reds are talking to everyone, right? I did a bit on the show, not a bit, but I did a piece on the show last week about, hey, I don't really care. At some point, I don't care how active you are. I don't care how many guys you're talking to. It's a closing thing. I shared the story how when I started in sales, I was constantly telling my general sales manager at the time, yes, I've talked to this. I think I'm going to get this closed. I'm going to get this. And my GSM, Jim Richards, shout out to Jim, by the way, he looked at me and said, hey, I'm glad there's a lot of activity, but I'm here to tell you, you don't get paid on activity. Right. You don't get paid on almost closing an account. You get paid on closing an account. Well, Ryan Day, you're not going to win games on almost getting this guy out of the portal or almost getting this dude. That's kind of where I'm at. So it's like, I would be concerned if they hadn't talked to anybody, but I think I'm even more concerned if you are talking to people, how Ohio State's not enough to close anymore. That would be my concern, because that shows we know times are different, but that would confirm times are different as far as that's concerned.
I would be more concerned that they wouldn't been reaching out to anybody. That just says like, no, we're good. We're standing pat. I mean, we saw what happened with a program that kind of stood pat on we're not doing the transfer portal thing, that team being Clemson. Yep. And we saw what happened to them this past season. So like, that will be way more alarming to me, because ultimately you can't choose for someone. They actually choose you. Yes, your collective package has to be up to snuff and everything like that, but ultimately they still make the decision. If you're not even talking to them, you're not even allowing them to be in the conversation to be chosen. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not talking to anybody, that's way out of bounds for me. And I pray to the heavens that they are reaching out to guys and things just aren't falling their way right now.
All right, it's the Kenner and Kevin show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. You got to try. I had a buddy of mine that applied to Harvard just to get the rejection letter, and he framed the rejection letter.
Oh my goodness! So, you know how much it costs to apply to Harvard?
Called privilege, my friend. When you're able to just apply for the hell of it just to get the rejection letter. My goodness. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. What do we have coming up around the court? News or not news? Keith Byers is going to join us coming up here in about 30 minutes, about a half hour from now. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers will join us. Last week, we talked about the fact that, hey, this bowl game, is it meaningless? Is it meaningful? Who's it meaningful to? Is it meaningless to you? Well, Keith Byers is going to bring the former player perspective on how to approach a game like this when you know you're not playing in the game that you anticipated coming into the season. How do you stay motivated to compete in this type of game? We'll hear about that from College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers coming up around the corner. All right, coming up following the show, the Wright State Coaches Show, Mode X. If you're out doing your Christmas shopping at the Green and want to stop by and say hello, please do so. It's Kenner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this
Don't
is
miss Dayton's top-rated local sports talk show, Kenner and Kev. Hang out with the guys weekdays at 3 p.m. as they talk Buckeyes, Bengals, Browns, Reds, and
to you. Let us help you.
Don't miss Dayton's top-rated local sports talk show, Kenner and Kev. Hang out with the guys weekdays at 3 p.m. as they talk Buckeyes, Bengals, Browns, Reds, and yes, your Wright State Raiders. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Buy now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months.